I'm Bima Anggara, and let me introduce you to my speech title, which is, so I have to say wow if you are anti-corruption youth? What's the answer? To find the answer, let's explore more about this wow meaning in terms of anti-corruption. There are three letters in the word wow. As we all know, it's W, O, and W. Each letter would represent the wow mentality that should be had by an anti-corruption youth. The first letter is W, which means willingness. What do I mean by willingness? Well, here's a story about a girl named Nunu who was a high school student from Lampung. During national exam, her teacher ordered all of the students to cheat by giving them the answers. But Nunu rejected it and became the only student who failed. And it was her third time since 2009 to 2011. Nunu is a very good example of young people who has the willingness to minimize her tendencies to cheat, even though she needs to pass the test. This is the kind of willingness that I meant. Back to the word wow. The second letter is O, which means obligation. What do I mean by obligation? Well, here's another story about Alif from Surabaya. During national exam, his teacher forced Alif, who was the smartest person in the class, to give his exam answers to all of his classmates. Alif and his parents reported this to the government. Thus, the principals and the teachers were fired. Unfortunately, after the incident was reported, his classmates' parents got very angry and deported them from the neighborhood. Although this story was tragic, you can see that Alif and parents had done their obligation to remind others that they have broken the law, and they made a big sacrifice by doing so. This is the kind of obligation that I meant. Last but not least is another W. But this W means workout. What do I mean by workout? Let's listen to another story about a 13-year-old boy named Fahma Walia from Bandung. He is a talented young programmer who was inspired by Indonesia's corruption issues. Thus, he created a game, an anti-corruption game, entitled Raid the Mice. In this game, he designed Garuda, which represents our national emblem, that shoots mice, a symbol of corruptors. Fahma is also a good example of young people who has worked out by mixing his IT skills with the corruption prevention issues without joining provocative events. Dear audiences, maybe some of you think that this wow mentality will be hard to develop looking back to Alif and Nunung's story. Personally, I cannot agree with that statement. Indonesia needs us to be brave and never give up for our future. I believe that Indonesia is a big nation with great mentality, not greedy mentality. Just like our founding father, Mr. Muhammad Hatta, who was an honest and incorruptible man. So, do I have to say wow if Mr. Muhammad Hatta was incorruptible? Do I have to say wow if all of us, as the younger generation of Indonesia, are also incorruptible? The answer is definitely yes. This is my speech. I have enjoyed it, and never give up, Indonesia!
Say he came back today and walked into the presidential palace and had the power to sort things out. What do you think he would do about corruption now?
What do I think he would do? Well, that also depends on how he sees the situation. If he thinks that the situation in Indonesia is already worse than he thought, then maybe he will think something else. But if he thinks that Indonesia still has a chance, still have hope, then he will probably do the best he can. That's all.